Here's what the corporatocracy is up to today, September 27th, 2019. You can visit our website at wakingjustice.org for more details. Here are the headlines. Yesterday, we reported that the Democrats have begun an impeachment inquiry into President Trump. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the narrow inquiry will be restricted to a recent whistleblower complaint about the president. The whistleblower claimed that Trump had pressed the president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden on his former dealings in Ukraine when Biden was vice president.
Exactly what
we covered various perspectives on the impeachment, from leading indie outlets, including the Common Censored podcast by Lee Camp and Eleanor Goldfield. Eleanor said the Democrats' decision on impeachment is like a fucked up layer cake that reveals all the layers of corruption in the system. She's referring to the fact that even though Trump's actions were definitely wrong and maybe impeachable, Trump himself was investigating Biden's actual real corruption. Lee and Eleanor went on to remind us that when Biden was vice president, the Obama administration staged a covert and bloody coup in Ukraine. In 2014, over 100 civilians were killed in a violent false flag uprising. The mainstream corporate media blamed all the carnage on Ukraine's president, Viktor Yanukovych, who was quickly run out of the country. Obama's State Department handpicked a new Ukrainian president who would be friendly to U.S. and Western interests. The new president seized certain assets of the former president, including his natural gas company, Burisma Holdings. And sidebar, Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was soon appointed to Burisma's new board of directors. He was paid $50,000 per month to sit on that board till he resigned last year when his dad announced he was running for president. Ukraine's new president also entered talks with the International Monetary Fund. The IMF negotiates state loans for the central banking system in the West. The IMF offered the new president a multi-billion-dollar loan to be secured by a 50% price hike on the sale of natural gas. The new president signed off on the loan, indebting Ukraine to the US-led corporatocracy for perpetuity. Most Americans have no idea about Obama's coup in Ukraine. The mainstream corporate media called it a civil war and a revolution, cheering on the rebellion when it ousted the alleged corrupt and fascist dictator. But multiple credible reporters would soon reveal that the whole thing was staged by the State Department and CIA, and in consultation with Google. Such barbarism and corruption is routine business for the US-led corporatocracy, but that truth is never critically discussed in mainstream corporate media or among big politics. As Kingsley Dennis wrote for WakingTimes.org, those who do are met by, quote, a systematic defense that labels the critics as conspiracy theorists, anarchists, or antisocial. This systematic defense of deception and misinformation is big business for big media and big tech. Kingsley says that hordes of cyber technicians infiltrate online forums and social media, etc., deliberately seeding and spreading state-sponsored propaganda and misinformation. He believes it may be robbing us of our abilities to separate illusion from truth. French intellectual Jean Baudrillard would likely agree with Kingsley. Baudrillard wrote a book called Simulacra and Simulation that explores what happens in a culture dominated by propaganda and misinformation. In his book, Baudrillard gives two major examples of modern culture, Disneyland and Watergate, that he says create an illusion of distinction between truth and fiction. For its visitors, Disneyland offers the amusement of exploring an imaginary land in real space. But for Baudrillard, Disneyland is a copy of actual American culture, a land of imagination, based on fairy tales of equality, where all men are created equal and manifest destiny to, quote, make the world safe for democracy. Disneyland doesn't let you be a child, Baudrillard writes. It hides the fact that you are a child who still believes in such fairy tales. Ouch. He sees Watergate in a similar way. The Watergate scandal happened in 1972, when President Richard Nixon hired former FBI and CIA agents to wiretap his political opponent. The Washington Post famously exposed the crimes, and Nixon ended up resigning from office. For Baudrillard, the Watergate scandal was, quote, nothing but a lure held out by the system, a controlled event to reestablish order, a cover-up to hide a deeper, unspoken scandal. Some, like Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges, might call this unspoken scandal the, quote, corporate coup d'etat of our democracy, where all levers of democratic reform in America have been completely corrupted by corporate elites, where no other nation has ever imprisoned so many of its own citizens, where wealth inequality is higher than any other society at any time in the past, anywhere in the world, where according to a recent Princeton study, over the past 40 years, the average American citizen has had a near zero, statistically non-significant impact on public policy, and where if corporate elites are against any new policy, there is a 100% chance they'll get their way. It is beyond delusional to think we can ever vote such corrupt and moneyed elites out of power. The only real power we have in this corporate plutocracy is mass organized boycott. If you want to learn how all of us, in the work of global justice, can join together in strategic boycott and force this corporatocracy to the people's bargaining table to end all of this oppression, warmongering, and corruption, and to save our planet, please visit our website at wakingjustice.org. Check out our About page and listen to our first podcast. And if you'd like to get involved, please fill out our Join Us form at the top right of the web page. We'd love to hear from you. We're running out of time. Join us. Peace.
You must be involved in the struggle for freedom and justice.
If it's about love, if it's about justice is waking, justice is rising, justice is waking, justice is rising, if it's about love, justice is rising, and it ain't just us, it's all of us. Justice is waking, justice is rising, and it ain't just us, it's all of us. If it's about love, may every soul unite, tend the fire and let old coals relight. I'm a citizen of the world, and we fight for the rights of everybody to live a truly free life. Red or yellow, black or white, left or right, gay or straight, human or animal, or life. Cause what matters is what is in common. If you know it, stand tall and keep dropping the knowledge. Justice is waking, justice is rising, and it ain't just us, it's all of us. If it's about love.